We did it, guys. Welcome to our great found footage.
After watching found footage, oh boy.
Oh god.
Oh boy. Someone's already. Then we'll take this one away.
I mean, so hey, Elysian, Night Owl.
Night Owl, Pumpkin Owl, of course.
Pretty good. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
For our scary movie.
Scary beer.
Good
for
choice.
scary
Good
movie.
choice.
Ghost. We watched Transylvania 65000. Do 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 do.
Okay, please, before we start doing this, because he was driving me nuts.
This is a real song.
No, what does this fucking the number mean? What does the number mean?
So no, it's a real song about like.
Yes, it's the beginning of the fucking movie.
No, about when like.
It's a real song.
It's a song about like calling on phones. It's like from the 1940s, and it's about like calling people on the phone. Exactly, and they're like transferring me to, and it was Pennsylvania 65000, but then they changed it to Transylvania 65000.
Pennsylvania 65000 is a telephone number in New York City written in 2L plus 5N format.
That means
There you
Jimmy is right, and I'm upset now.
That was
like, it's a phone number. Like that sounds.
That was
I
common
that sounds dumb.
from the 1930 to 1960. So
There you go.
this actually
it
was a phone number.
It was a polka song.
Well,
It was like a polka song.
It was like an address because I
Yeah.
was just thinking. I was thinking it was a different, like a parody song. So I was
Well,
like, this is
Jamie, you're never gonna watch this, but you were right.
and I'm never gonna tell you.
The number is best known for the 1940 hit song
1940.
65000.
So guys,
swing jazz.
Top
and
billing,
pop
guys.
standard
Jeff
recording.
Goldblum.
Yeah.
Second billing.
Ed Begley Jr. son.
No, it wasn't.
Not
Ed
the
Begley-
second
Oh,
billing.
Is
No.
it Gina Davis?
Joseph
wasn't.
Bologna.
Joseph Bologna.
Oh.
Bologna. His
Oh,
last name is Bologna.
the mad
I put Bologna,
scientist.
yeah.
He was fantastic.
But also,
so,
why is he second billed? Like he's in the movie for like half the time.
But he's like the next most compelling
But first of all,
character,
he's
I
Joey
guess.
Bologna, and second of all, watch your mouth.
Joey Bologna.
Joseph
Nice.
Bologna.
And he probably was one of the better parts.
Okay, so but anyway,
The best part though, guys, Gina Davis. We'll get there.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get
He is great. So I really like that this movie starts with found footage. They're like, these two guys were vacationing in Transylvania, and this is the movie they made, and now they're disappeared, and somehow we got this movie, and I want you to go investigate it. And it's clear that this is a boss, and there's these two reporters, and they work
You're the
for,
tabloid, right?
like, tabloid, like fake, super fake,
Let's
like,
get the background of
space
those other
tabloids,
I
yeah.
looked him up. Joey Bologna's dead, guys.
Oh,
It's
that's too bad.
That is baloney.
But yeah, who are these two reporters who are going to have to go work together in Transylvania? It's Jack.
That's Jeff Goldblum's character, Jack.
Jack Harrison.
Jeff Goldblum.
And Gil.
And Gil,
I didn't write Gil's
I
last
can't
name.
remember the last name. And his dad is the editor. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's Ed Begley Jr. And I've loved Ed Begley Jr. for a long time.
Ed Begley Jr. First of all, if we started a breakfast restaurant, we were going to make eggs Begley Jr.
Yes.
Just look him up. He's been everything, dude. You'll be like, oh,
but also, Ed Begley Jr. was looking fine. Like, he could get it.
He was a good-looking guy.
In 1985, like,
Back
he
in the
could get
day,
it.
yeah.
Back in the day, yeah.
I mean, they were both like. The funny thing for me is, I think Jeff Goldblum has gotten better with age.
I think so,
because
too.
he was so thin in the 70s and 80s when he first started acting. That I
He's
mean,
very buggy
that's why
almost,
they
yeah.
literally why they picked him like for The Fly, because
Yeah.
he's fantastic, but also he looks like
A bugged
a
out
space
eyes, yeah.
alien, which is why Jamie had mentioned, and we really should watch it. Earth Girls Are Easy, and it's Jeff Goldblum playing an alien. Gina Davis is also in it. Yeah, so yeah. But
because Gina also a little bit turned like Gina Davis in this one.
Gina Davis is great,
Okay.
and she's a big feminist, so I can understand that. Like, yeah. So
Me too now. I'm also now a big feminist.
Guys, New World Pictures did this, by the way. New World. Do we remember what else they did? Because I don't.
They did the game The New World. We're playing it right now.
sure.
I don't think so.
But anyway, yeah. So we're going through this intro. Jeff Goldblum, Ed Begley Jr., Carol Kane. I was like, oh my god.
This is a big
Michael
star movie.
Richards, which you're like.
Yeah, cringe. I'm cringing.
Jeffrey Jones?
I'm like, oh no,
Wait,
getting worse.
you mean the guy that almost hosted Jeopardy, Michael
No.
Richards?
No.
That's Michael Richards' son, I thought.
No, that's Michael Richards.
But so they get sent to Transylvania, and we get to hear this really great. And I told him, I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's like a theme song they wrote for the movie. That was actually a pretty good song, the Transylvania 65000. Yeah, the first one, the 80s one.
It's a
Yeah,
banger.
it
I was
was
like,
great.
this song is a legit banger.
We were
It's a
like
great
getting
song.
excited about the movie, and then it just goes like down.
Okay,
from there.
Okay, guys. So they're talking about like the tabloid sales are down. They're making this the word like women forced to work in the rape factory
Yeah.
because it was a typo. She made
It's
a
supposed to,
factory.
and Jeff Goldblum Gill's like, it was a rope factory, and they're like, oh, and the guy's like, oh, well, that was just a misprint or something.
Okay.
And then Ed Begley's, of course, he's like, I'm a team player, and you don't even. The funny part is you don't find out the guy's his dad until later.
He's like, no, that's not true because he says it right.
He does.
He goes, you can't fire me. You're my dad.
Oh,
he
okay.
says this line. Like,
He also he's got like a very hello. Hi. It's got like a very Brick Tamlin thing going on where, yeah, like whatever. Like,
yeah.
He just says whatever, and you're like,
he's supposed to just be like a hard nose to the grindstone editor.
He's just but also like the son is just like he's just very bad at being a reporter. He's like I'm very excited about things, but like I don't know how to be a reporter.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, cool.
So they're on the plane. They get to Transylvania. Everything's in English. There's like literally a sign that says approaching Transylvania.
Like, everything was entering.
Jamie got pissed about this too, and I was like, it's a tourist. They're tourists. They're waiting for tourists. Stop.
Bullshit.
But also, this is the part of the movie where sort of the little bit of the Mel Brooks feel starts to come out, because that would totally fly in a Mel Brooks film where everything's just in English and it's setting you up for like the next scenes.
Though, guys?
I did not
it was
the Transylvania Trans.
Transylvania Trans, yeah. Like transport, you know. Yeah. Transylvania transport, yeah.
Getting off the bus, what does Jeff Goldblum immediately do? What does Jack immediately do?
Start hitting on women?
Hits on a random woman.
Yeah.
That's just sitting with her daughter.
With her daughter.
What are they doing?
No, and I love that you know this movie.
Her young daughter.
This movie
so
was made in
Jamie's like criticizing
1985.
me, and I'm like, no, I'm just saying like. If he's trying to hook up real quick, someone with a daughter is gonna be that's a hard get.
No, I know. He's immediately like, let's have dinner. It's like she needs a babysitter.
Yeah, like she's gonna find
She's
someone to see
American.
her kid.
She's halfway around the world.
And that kid can't just be by themselves in Transylvania.
Yeah.
It's a child, like a 6-year-old child.
But it can be. We'll talk about that later.
Oh god. So everything's in English. They get to this town. He tells Gil, he's like, Gil, go play with the kids so I can talk to the mom. What?
We've established pretty early
things are different.
that Jeff Goldblum is not the hero of this movie. Like, this
but
guy
he
is a sleazeball.
But he also is the hero. Because in the 80s, all the sleazeballs were the heroes.
It's really overshadowed because the next character you see come on screen is played by Jeffrey Jones. And you're like, I really put Jeffrey Jones problematic.
Okay, here's the most problematic thing about this. Jeffrey Jones was the funniest person in this movie. He was. It was tough.
You know who the not funniest person was? Fucking Michael Richards.
Let's talk about Michael Richards, you guys.
Christ.
Okay, so we see...
Jesus Christ!
So, first of all, Jeffrey Jones plays the mayor of this town. Or of Transylvania. Yeah, exactly. And he's like, it's not like it used to be. We're trying to like modernize it or something like that, and make it about the real history. So then Ed Begley's character, real quick, he asks about Frankenstein, which, by the way, this movie immediately makes a connection between Frankenstein and Transylvania. There's literally no connection before they made this movie.
Like, what are you doing? Well,
and I told him too. I hadn't seen this in forever, and I'm pretty sure we end up seeing like all of the monsters because that's the whole thing. It's like a monster thing. And they made a lot of monster movies like that around that time. Like Monster Squad came out around that time. There was like Monsters in My Pocket. It was all about like taking all the classic horror films and like putting all the monsters together. So they were trying to capitalize.
Hands, I get it.
Yeah, Idle Hands. Oh my God, Idle Hands. Oh, all right, sorry, God, that movie. Oh, it's one of my favorites. All right, anyway, so they get to their hotel, which is also an old castle, which is also run by the mayor, and so they come up to the door, and you see Michael Richards. Also, everyone's so thin in this movie.
What's his name?
Just say this. Feos. So they come up and it's very much like a Wizard of Oz thing where he like opens the little thing and he's like, who is it? And they're like, we're here.
So when you first get it, like, okay, maybe this could be funny, but it just gets worse worse and worse.
So actually it's funny because you look back, the first scene that he's in with it is probably the funniest scene because he takes this weird little puppet and like puts it out and he's like making, and it's dumb.
It was dumb, but it was funny.
But it was like, okay, but then again, it still went too long.
But then he kept doing the prank thing, the crank thing.
What it feels like is like the runtime was short and like, have Michael just do more stupid shit.
Or I was thinking that it was maybe more like overtly sexual in the first cut, and then they decided to take out some of those scenes because they're like, it has to be a family movie too.
Did Michael Richards fuck the puppet in the first one?
I bet Michael Richards just said a bunch of racist racist stuff, and they're like, "Oh no, we can't do that, man."
Yeah,
We
just
gotta
everything
record
else,
this scene."
anything recorded, just throw it in the movie. So anyway, he does this little puppet routine because he like wants to be funny.
That's weird.
He works at this hotel that they're staying at, and he's supposed to be a character like actor / servant,
Wait, he
but
calls
also
himself
trying
a
to be
token
funny.
brute as well.
Yeah, and no, not at all.
Okay.
You're not a brute at all. He kind of walks like this, and he's just
Jeffrey Jones' Mare character with that hat, I would wear that every day. I'm just throwing that out there. Would wear it every day. Hard sell.
I did right here. I wrote Larry David saw this movie, and then he hired Michael Richards.
I still want to hire you.
Yeah.
Well, this was '85, so this is before he even had Seinfeld.
Right.
This was before then.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
Seinfeld
You
started
didn't say
in
the N-word.
'88.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't
Yeah,
that?
anything, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's actually some really great jokes in this movie. So they're
There's
asking.
also a lot of not great jokes.
I know.
in this
I-
movie.
so
And,
many, it's true.
and I feel like the jokes are loaded better in the beginning, though. Like Jeffrey Jones' jokes in the beginning are
Yeah.
And
fucking
so
on.
then we meet Joey Baloney's character.
Wait.
No, not yet. No.
You're like way ahead.
Yeah, no, we're still in the
That's
castle.
Oh no, they talk about it. I'm sorry, they're talking
Yeah.
about Mad
So
Scientist.
yeah, they're talking. Well, he's asking questions. He's like, "Oh, have you seen monsters?" And he's like, "Don't ask about monsters." And one of the greatest lines is he goes, "The only monster is the phone bill," and it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh man."
Oh,
Yeah, definitely a knee slapper.
But
So-
hey, somebody's like at least made you smile, which is more than most of the fucking
Also,
movies we
there's
watch.
a lot
okay?
of physical. There's a lot of physical comedy in this. We haven't even talked about like the
they,
ridiculous.
and it's like a
physical
lot of like
comedy.
it's like someone that maybe saw a Mel Brooks movie and then tried to emulate
No,
it. but
I'm
has
telling
no
you,
comedic
the
timing
guy who
whatsoever.
directed and wrote this film
Terrible.
wrote 2 of Mel Brooks' films and like worked on them.
He wrote
Which
A History of the
ones does he-
World. And
Well, no, clearly this was him without
He
any
wrote
help
the History of the
from
World.
Mel Brooks.
Didn't he
History
write-
of the World
He made Mel Brooks a
Blazing
bunch of
Saddles?
the scripts.
Spaceballs.
Oh, Spaceballs. Those
Yeah.
are Blazing Saddles. but okay.
Spaceballs.
Okay.
Still, I mean,
But I mean, also, you know, that was more of a collaboration, and this is him going off on his own, and it didn't, you could see what it was trying to do, but it wasn't hitting the marks, and so it's painful for a lot of it, but also, let's talk about it. So,
the pacing was the
yeah,
most
the pacing
painful
was
thing for
terrible.
me.
So there's so much physical comedy, and then out comes his little Igor guy, and he's like, "Oh, master, I'm Igor," and he's like,
He's
"Oh,
not
make us dinner," and this is where we meet Loopy. We meet the character Loopy, and it's Carol Kane. She's gorgeous, amazing, like in her prime.
I'm
in
like
the
looking at her,
80s.
I'm like, that's the fucking
Yeah,
old lady from
Yeah.
Curious Street, and David's like, no, and I'm like,
yes.
she's fucking hot.
Carol Kane. Love
Like,
her.
Fully hot.
Love her. So, you can, and what I love about this movie too is that their
And so it's
accents,
the exact same
their
voice.
accents literally go in and out in this movie. In some scenes they're
and some
trying,
they don't fucking
and in some they're not. And literally in this scene, she tries for part of the scene and doesn't.
Just
she
like
she
gives
like
up.
gives up.
Just gives up.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
and-
gonna just do
yeah,
my
exactly.
voice,
And
my
so-
regular voice.
I'm gonna do my Carol Kane, and
Oh,
it's like
but
okay.
Loopy, though,
I'm
guys,
better
is
at
Loopy.
this.
Well, Loopy, that's the thing is, I feel like everyone in this movie had so much more potential, and they just
Yeah,
wrote
definitely.
these boring scenes for them that
Well,
like they
it
were
feels like
trying
they
their
shot at
best.
me once and then said no punch.
Exactly,
no one's
exactly.
Notes, just like,
So
okay.
she's trying to be helpful to her husband because she loves him and she wants to be around him and helpful, and he's like just berating
He's beleaguered
her.
and put upon, yeah.
But what you figure out as the movie goes on is that there's really like a sadomasochistic
Yeah,
relationship
yeah.
going. Like I actually kind of like that this movie works on different layers in a weird way. Because they both like being beaten down on, like they get off on
Or have a door slam in their
having-
face.
yeah,
Oh,
seriously,
Carol
like-
Kane gets thrown out of like 7
A window?
windows.
Yeah, it's
By the
crazy.
way, the Igor's character's name is Lepescu.
Is
Oh
that
no,
how
is he
they pronounce
Radu?
it?
Is he Radu?
Yeah, he's
or
Radu.
Radu.
Radu. Okay, Radu. I'm sorry, yeah.
Lebescu was the
The-
mayor.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Mayor
yeah, yeah.
Lepescu. That's
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry. Yeah, Radu. Radu.
So
was
also,
Radu.
did you notice? So the castle is supposed to be like Transylvania history themed, but also
Yeah.
the phones have like lizards
It's
on
like a
them.
big lizard.
Also,
yeah,
and
like,
they
It flips
or a
out.
monster.
They drink.
Yeah.
They're drinking out of like test tubes.
It's like something
Yeah.
you would get from like ordering Sports Illustrated. They're
I'm
doing
like-
that, like it's
Yeah.
Like, this was-
Sports Illustrated.
but it's
phone.
also what somebody thought Transylvania was like. They had test tubes and
Yeah, because
alligator phones.
they're
They're doing
capitalizing
gastronomics.
on
Yeah, they're doing the
everything. Yeah,
gastronomics.
exactly.
Yeah, like-
That's actually what they would totally be
Yeah.
doing today. So, hey, you ever heard the joke about the lobotomy?
Oh, I wrote this down because I was like, this is the
You
dumbest
don't
thing I've
lobother
done.
me, I don't lobother you.
That was 100% a throwaway Mel Brooks show. 100%. That
Yeah.
was like something Dom DeLuise would say.
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
if Dom DeLuise had been in this,
It would've been
it
better.
would have
It
made
would've
the
been
movie, right?
It would
Oh
way
God.
better.
Oh,
I don't
God.
know why he wasn't in
He
this
could
movie.
have been Lepescu. Oh,
Sure.
why is he? He's
Sure.
gone. Why can't we remake this movie?
But the problem is though, Jeffrey Jones was still the funniest part of this movie.
I know.
He was like, I
So,
don't want to say it. I don't want to feel it in my
So you're
heart.
cool with child molesters.
I don't want to
Okay, you
feel
heard
it,
your guys
dude.
first.
Dude,
Okay.
I don't want to feel this in here. Okay, look in this chest hair. I don't want to put it in here. Okay?
Next, you'd be like, I wish Mel Gibson was in this too.
like,
So-
could there be more Mel Gibson in this movie?
Mel Gibson. Ooh. All right, so
We'll talk about that on the next.
all of
podcast.
the scenes
You
are
gotta pick
longer than they should be. There's like
Yeah.
throwaway jokes
no.
that they say to the
Not all the
side.
scenes, just the scenes that are not funny or not driving the plot.
Yeah,
like,
and they just go
for some
on
reason,
for
they're
so long.
the longest.
Anything with Michael
goddamn
Richards in
scenes.
it is just like, why is this still
Or
happening
like
at this
they,
point?
like the one with Radu and Loopy in there in the back doing stuff. It just goes on for like 15
Yeah.
minutes.
I
Like, I don't care.
I was like, food service is fun, I guess.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like doing like.
I'm like,
hand
none of
dishes
this
and
is
shit.
funny.
So you guys, we gotta slide through because that's what this movie
We gotta
is.
muddle
It's
through
a-
somehow.
So
You didn't even got to the
Ed
funniest character in this
Begley,
movie.
Gil gets this tip that he should go see Madame Moravi.
Well, he's almost
Moravia.
murdered by a
Yeah.
chandelier
Moravia.
before he meets the detective.
That's
guy.
it, right? Yeah. So he's checking out the
Madame
chapel
Moravia.
Yeah.
Madame
where the
Moravia.
video took place, the found footage video
Yes.
that they have.
Which looks terrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it took place there either. Like when
No.
you're like, where did it take place?
I was very
in this
confused.
year?
She's like,
it
no,
doesn't
this
look like
isn't. I thought, oh, this is like
No, that
a
was
movie
exactly
they're watching or
that was
something. It's like,
exactly
no.
where they shot the found footage film.
No, but like they shot it like on this weird outside location with like a door that got smashed through.
Well,
Like,
he went
inside the
in,
chapel
the
doesn't
door-
look anything like it.
No, the door
You didn't go in
was
that
already
doorway.
smashed.
It just looks weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the inside doesn't look
It's-
like it's the same.
it's
set.
weird.
They
No,
didn't.
it's
They didn't put a lot of stuff
Yeah.
together. So
Madame Moravia. That's
So
where
yeah,
we're at.
but so he gets a tip to go see Madame
It
Moravia.
looks like Donald Trump with a wig on.
Because she literally did look like Donald Trump with a wig.
I thought
Um,
I went large march.
Or large
Is
March.
this Large
Or
March?
yes, 100%. Or large March. So they go to see her and she says that her son is a werewolf and they need to murder
Kill
him.
her son. the
What's her
werewolf.
son's
Yeah.
name?
Ronnie.
Talbot.
Lawrence Malbert.
Lawrence Malbut.
But we had a closed caption on it. Closed caption's like, this is not a last
You know
name.
why
You
it
can't
said
put
Lawrence Talbot?
It's
Because
kept putting Talbot.
because
It's like,
Lawrence Talbot is the character from The Wolfman. It's Lawrence
That's
Talbot.
why
this is
funny.
And
They
so they
changed
just
the
changed.
letter.
No, yeah, they just changed the letter, and someone just looked it up and was like, "Oh, it's Lawrence Talbot." They
No,
didn't
but
pay
he's a
attention,
different
yeah.
character. We're not getting sued.
That joke not only missed me, but it was
Yeah.
terrible.
So, but I did love the one physical comedy thing about Madame Moravia. She falls asleep after her reading.
It's so stupid. It was the
And
stupidest
she just
thing.
broke through the
This is
table.
very, again,
No, but
another...
the best part is he
Mel
comes
Brooks
in
guy.
with another
Stupid.
table.
This
He's
was a
like,
Mel
That
"Oh,
was the only funny
yeah.
part. I was like, okay, you're winning me back a little bit.
Yeah.
Then she did the fucking gag, and I'm like, this gag is still
That's
stupid.
like a Mel Brooks thing.
Yeah.
That's like her character always says this, haha.
No, You know why a Mel Brooks movie is better is because they film more stuff.
This was like a
then
Dollar
they're
Tree.
able-
The
yeah.
timing. There's
Yeah.
no timing.
This was
to
a
it.
Dollar Tree Mel Brooks movie. That's what it was. It was like,
So,
it was
Like,
like
again-
if she would have just put her head to the table, I probably would have thought it would have been funnier, but instead she was like,
So-
I'm going to fall asleep
one
now.
of the running
Ooh,
gags
like,
in this
okay.
movie is that when they first came into town and Gil's character asked about Frankenstein at the first hotel, they all started laughing about Frankenstein. And so people just walk by him and they're like, Frankenstein! Oh! But also, can we reiterate that Frankenstein, the story, has absolutely nothing to do with
Also,
Transylvania?
let's not
It's
forget
nothing.
that these guys then went to hunt for the werewolf in the next scene.
Yeah.
And they followed a dude who was in just fucking someone in a bush.
Yeah. No, so I do love though, I wrote in here, like, I love that Jeff Goldblum's look in the 80s was just jackets that are too big for
Way
my body.
too fucking
Like
big.
3 sizes bigger than he
Like
needs.
that was
yeah.
not made for
Yeah.
you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Tailor a little bit.
Also, there's a couple times in the movies checking out his hair. I'm like, your hair looks like shit.
Yeah,
like just
But
hot
that was
garbage.
his look.
Yeah.
But that was his look. It was just a messy. What I loved his hair.
The first bedhead.
What I loved his hair was he's like, yeah, messy bedhead. But then Ed Begley's was like
Yeah.
perfectly.
I'm actually really-
coiffed.
you know what
They
was
messed
it?
the wig. It was
Yeah.
so like so.
No, the hair in
finely
this movie
cut.
was the best. So yeah, they follow this guy Lawrence Malbut. They looked up like
Malbut.
where he lived.
Yeah.
They follow him,
Malbut.
and they hear him growling in a bush, and they're thinking he's turning into a werewolf, but instead he's
Larry
just
getting his fuck on.
with with some lady, and they go, "We thought he was an animal," and she
I
goes,
thought you were an
"He
animal."
is."
Again,
Ooh.
again, Wish.com, Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah, and like that joke of like, here comes the setup. He is. He is. I'm like, okay.
So you guys, up next, there's a scene where the guy goes, "New York, New York."
Yeah, and they start playing the worst song in any movie. I'm
Yeah.
like, what are we doing right now? I want to kill myself.
I think they were going for, this is supposed to be stupid, I guess. These people
I just like, I
obviously
long,
cannot sing in tune at all.
I was like, I long to die right
Yeah.
now.
They had no rhythm or tune, but
No.
okay.
So this was a bar
And,
scene.
and then she just fucking ghosted him at the bar, and I was
Yeah,
like,
no,
what?
I love that.
That was a
So
terrible
yeah,
date.
he takes her out to dinner, which where's her daughter? Like
Yes!
yeah,
I can't. She like her first excuse was like, I can't go out with you because I have a daughter, and then
Yeah.
she's like, no, she's just somewhere.
no, and then I love that she, of course, this is a foreshadowing scene because she says that she is in Transylvania to get away from her husband because he was like violent with her. And she got really angry about it, and she hit him over the head with a bottle
With
and
a wine
knocked him
bottle. A
out,
wine bottle.
and ran
Specifically.
to Transylvania with her daughter, because that's
Also,
where you
these
go,
two have
obviously.
no chemistry.
No.
Zero.
Negative amounts of chemistry.
None.
Like, if this was a first date, there would never be a second
Yeah,
date.
no.
You wouldn't even
Well,
talk
no,
to each
and
other.
like you said, so he tells her what he's there to do, like what he's investigating, and she's like, Frankenstein? She's like, okay, we're done,
Yeah,
peace,
yeah,
bye.
she's like,
Bye.
fuck off.
She's like, no, I
By
don't
the
want to
way,
do anything to
I-
do
Which
with
is
you.
correct.
I think the only person that Jeff Goldblum has chemistry with is Jeff Goldblum. It's like another Jeff
It's true.
Goldblum. That's the
Yeah.
only way you're gonna say like. And I would watch it Fuck Sash 100%. But also like, yeah, anytime he's on screen with someone and it's like
The
he's-
whole
they're
time
a love
is
interest,
at
like,
least.
no, they're not.
I think that you're
Like, just don't do
very
and you notice like in his later life
lovely,
they just stopped doing that with him. Like, yeah, okay, he just don't do that. No love interest, don't either.
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
an
it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
there though. It's there the whole
So,
movie.
But you guys, so Ed Begley, he sends Gil to
You
bed.
mean Eggs Begley?
And Gil's in bed, and all of a sudden Gil has like
And
a
then
visitor.
and then this is where I'm into the movie, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Gene Davis is fine.
Yeah,
oh my
no.
God.
And I remembered that, and he was like, "Oh, Gina Davis is into it," and I'm like, "I've always wanted to be that Gina Davis," and he's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Wait till you see her
I've
costume."
always wanted you to
yeah.
be that Gina Davis.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
Yeah.
sold, sold. Jamie was like, "Oh, but her tits are small." I'm like, "Her tits are just fine."
What? That was it. She's like trying to take you out of
Yeah,
it.
right. I'm like, no,
Yeah, her eyebrows
you-
messed up
Yeah.
with her eyebrows.
You can't take this from me.
Not to mention, her wig is amazing. It has
Yeah.
like the highlighted like colors in it
Yeah.
and shit. Like
They did a
I
great job
love
with it.
her
Really
costume.
about
She
it.
looks amazing.
Yeah, I was looking
She
at her
looks great.
costume too, so.
Yeah,
I-
she looks great.
the way she was wearing a costume. Boobies.
Also, a creature from Estee Lauder.
No, and I love what I love is that she's like
that was the one. funny
she's
joke
like
I
a
laughed at.
hot
Exactly.
and heavy
There was
vampire.
a couple things that
Yeah.
like made you laugh in this movie.
She's like a
That's
hot.
why it was better
Like,
than
oh, it smells like
Nothing.
perfume.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it smells like perfume. Oh, so the creature from Estee Lauder
It's
gotcha.
fucking great. I was like,
No, but
okay.
But that
I
was,
love
that was you
seriously.
can tell that was like a line that
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum wrote. You can tell that wasn't something that
It
was
might
in
have
the
been,
script.
yeah, sure.
But I love it because she's like, I love 80s movies because she's like super horny, like vampire lady.
Yeah.
And
I
Ed
know.
Begley's
Good
like
Lord.
white bread.
Well,
Like
Ed
the
Begley.
whitest bread
vanilla Ed
ever.
Begley.
I
Yeah.
thought she was like biting his face, but like her she has just red lipstick on. I'm like, is she
Yeah.
biting his face right now? What's that? And, but she was also saying, "I'm gonna bite your face." Like, oh, please do, please don't, please do. But
Then we had the hard-boiled egg guillotine, by the way. That was how they opened their hard-boiled
Yeah.
eggs, I guess. I was like,
it's Transylvania. It's a different place.
He's like, you know, it's all about murder and stuff
Now,
like that.
there's a movie though about Frankenstein. What's the name of this VHS tape that he finds?
It's alive or something. Like that.
Frankenstein lives.
Yeah.
I was like, this
Which
is like
sounds
Well,
like it
no,
is
so
a
he
novel
searches
story.
in their rooms and finds the found
this
footage.
is the worst way to hide
the
porn,
beginning
by the
of
way,
the
guys.
yeah.
So, like, you don't like name it the name of the
You,
porn.
as
right?
we learned from our last Burn After Watching, you have to call it the nature special.
Yeah.
And no one will watch it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Texas 1994, the movie.
Like Jeffrey Jones would not have grabbed. it.
Hopefully not like an episode of Star Trek Next Generation, right?
Hopefully not.
Ugh. God.
Okay, that's an inside joke that will never be on the podcast.
Oh, good. So,
I'm kicking a can down the street in my mind
so-
right now.
they realize that oh god. So they realize that that there's this guy staying there at the castle who supposedly died, and he was being treated by a doctor who works at this sanitarium. So they want to go like check out the sanitarium and see what's going on there. So they go to the sanitarium, and there's a great scene like Ed
Also,
Begley.
it says sanatorium on the side of it.
Yeah, it's
In
just
English.
a sanatorium.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Transylvania.
I'm telling you, it's
Transylvania,
for tourism purposes.
The sanatorium.
Yeah.
Also, they all speak English. Every single one of them
Yeah,
speaks
that's what I'm
English.
saying. That's
yeah.
it's
Most
like,
of them not in
Now,
an
come on,
accent.
you weren't in Poland. That remember, there's a lot of English there. A lot of people speak.
There's
English.
not a goddamn sign in English that I can remember. I'm trying to
There
remember one.
wasn't, but that's okay.
It's all like,
Babe,
oh, I don't know what
But
that
this is a suspend like belief movie.
No.
Like it's
It isn't.
goofy. It's
It
a
isn't.
farce.
Sure.
I want my Frankenstein to be real.
So
They
anyway,
realize it's Frankenstein later, by the way, so.
Good. False.
Ed
I mean,
Begley's character,
Chris
Ed
Evans
Begley's
goes
character goes to visit this, like check out
Oh,
the
also
sanitarium.
great 80s caper music during the scene.
It is,
Again, more good music. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, it kept me into the movie, even with the long.
But then the
elongated
next
scenes.
thing that keeps you in the movie is Ed Begley is a live man because he jumps up on this
Oh, yeah,
wall
he,
to
he,
look
like,
over
scales
it.
that, and that's like him.
And he
So-
Yeah.
hangs there. He
No.
like just hangs there.
And
with
then
his muscles.
these ladies are walking by, and he's like, "Oh, I have to act." So he's up on the wall, on his elbows.
I would not
Like,
be surprised
just-
if Ed Begley Jr. had some clowning in his like
Yeah.
background, like
Yeah.
some like
But also,
some circus.
that
type,
scene was
you know,
fun. It wasn't like the best scene of all time,
Yeah.
but it was a fun scene. Like
He's-
this movie
yeah.
could have been
Sure.
worse. Like
It could
Sure.
It
That-
could have
that's
been
actually
better.
the log
too,
line
though.
for this movie. Is it could have been worse. Transylvania 6, but
at one point, he just told him you could be the next Dean Astaire.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because he's from Transylvania, so he doesn't know Fred Astaire or something.
Dean
I guess so.
Astaire.
Oh,
It's
good.
funny.
So Jack's character is like, well, we have to go in there. We have to like infiltrate it and figure out what's going on. And
But
so,
luckily-
Luckily,
to go there,
luckily, there's just ropes hanging from the fucking gate. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I love
that's
that
the
the gate
Rosenberg.
itself had
What?
no barbed wire. Like the wall had barbed wire, but the gate no
Well, but
barbed
they're
wire.
old though. They're not getting
Yeah.
out. Like,
but
what
also,
do you mean?
there's a robe right by the. Like,
Yeah,
he
like
just
they hung
picks-
up the robes and
reaches
he
his
just
hand
takes
over
someone
and picks it
else's.
up.
Like,
And then of course Jack immediately burns him. He's like, "Oh, that guy's an escapee. He's trying to escape."
No, I
Jack's
love-
the worst character in this
no,
movie.
but I love that that's his whole thing. He's like, oh, if we say you're trying to get out, then they're gonna bring you in, and then if we say you're trying to get in, they're gonna take you
The
out.
joke
I'm
works,
oh.
But he's terrible.
Yeah, seriously.
Also,
So-
he just gets his ass beat on the way.
But
The
by
guy,
the way,
like, beats
what are
shit
these
out
people
of
at the sanatorium doing?
They're like doing yard work.
Yard work. Like just, and they're all doing the same
They're old
thing.
people, yeah,
But
yeah.
in like this tiny square, like this would be 5 seconds of raking for each
Yeah.
of you. You'd be done.
They're picking
Hey, guys,
up
we get-
sticks or
Like
something.
get back to work.
We
It's like,
finally found out Frankenstein's name. What's his name?
it's hard way.
Pugnati.
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 They
Yeah.
said
Pugnati. So,
HUNYATI.
and we
That's
find
like
out that
Grande.
supposedly Hunyadi died, but after Lepescu, Lepescu's the mayor. Who's
Yep.
the detective?
I don't remember. I didn't read detective.
The detective and the mayor leave, and we find out that the scientist actually
Inspector
is keeping them
Persick.
Persick, yeah. But we find out that the mad scientist,
We just.
I just
what?
keep thinking
What?
Baloney, Joseph
No,
Joe
it's
Baloney.
Malavwaka.
Malavakwa.
What accent do we think he's trying to do?
I have
Transylvania.
No, yeah.
It's
No.
Transylvania.
No, it wasn't.
That's exactly
It
the
was
Transylvanian
like-
accent.
it was
It was like New
Brooklyn?
York.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
no,
Brooklyn?
it was super Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
he's from
Okay.
Brooklyn.
Wait. Okay.
Like we talked about, I think some of the time they tried to do an
No,
accent
here-
and then they just gave up
Here's
on
the
it.
thing you guys don't know. Transylvanian accents sound very Brooklyn. They're
Oh
very
yeah,
close.
exactly. Right, they're so
So
close.
he was
yeah.
actually the most spot on. He's like the John Rhys Davies of this movie.
Oh my god.
I mean,
he
Joey
totally
Baloney
is.
kind of is like
Yeah.
John Rhys Davies. You're right.
Yeah.
100% is. If
He
we
was
like,
actually cast. He was actually
if
originally
we-
cast as Gimli, but he
if
had to
we
drop out.
recast
'Cause he died.
this film,
'Cause he's
would it
dead.
be John Rhys Davies in this role, right?
Ipsy, I
Actually, no, it would be like-
I mean,
how about-
I'm from
it would be like-
Transylvania.
How about Benedict Cumberbatch playing this?
I mean, he was like a
Boulder Dick
Right.
Schmerberbatch, he was
Yeah.
not. He was like
like
5.
a baby. Which
no, I mean if we
He's
were
sort of awesome.
recasting
Oh, if
the
we're doing it
movie.
like now.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do
Yeah.
that later. We'll do that later.
Okay.
Get through the damn movie.
Yeah, oh my god, this movie.
It's still going.
Yeah, so I wrote another comment. I put Gina Davis can fully turn me into a vampire.
By the way,
For no
they
reason.
exhume this
So yeah,
coffin.
they exhume Hunyadi
This
because he's
coffin
supposed
is
to be
like
dead.
5 fucking feet
Yeah.
long.
Which
And
we
this
all
guy is
know
supposed
is
to be
he's
huge.
not in there.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, the coffin is tiny.
and they pull out a
A
mannequin,
fuck mannequin.
and he literally says, it's a lady doll. And then he's like,
The mayor just takes it.
put it in my car
Yeah.
for evidence. It's like, he's gonna fuck
It's
that
not
doll.
that. It's not young enough for
He's
him.
gonna fuck that doll.
Well, speaking of fucking,
So,
we get back to Gina Davis.
oh my god. And she's like all up in Ed
She's like
Begley's
just
face. Yeah,
trying
she's
to
like,
get it. Like she hasn't had sex in years. Or
put
something.
your hands on my hips. Put
He's
your
like-
face
he's
to
like-
my breasts.
He's like,
Yeah,
she's like, I want to kiss you. He's like, can't we have lunch first?
And I watched this movie as a young child, so
Yeah, no.
I don't know why anyone wonders why I ended up the way that I ended
It makes a lot
up.
more sense now, yeah.
Okay.
So she's
He knocks
into
on
it.
the floor, by the way, to get away
I mean,
from her.
Yeah,
He
no,
was
it's
Howard
like
the
too
Duck as a
much for
child,
him.
so, I mean-
He's like, I can't. It's too much. Which again, like, oh god, that says so much about my early experiences. Anyway, so she's like too much for him, and he's like, oh, someone's knocking
She
at the
did a
door.
lot
and
of Ed Begley. That's what
she,
she's trying to say.
she slips away back into the night or into the castle or whatever.
And then we get more Michael Richards.
Yeah.
Finally.
Oh my god.
I was like,
no,
when are
we
we
get
gonna get
Michael
more of
Richards
this?
all through this movie.
I said possibly
Yeah,
too much Michael Richards.
There's also
got a lot
more.
of him.
Yeah, there's more Igor. There's more Loopy in this.
He does the thing with
Yeah.
the putting a fake arm and a fake leg and a fake
Oh my
hand.
God.
And a fake, and like,
There's a lot of physical comedy in this.
Again, I feel like the director really was like with some of the actors like, oh, do a
Yeah.
thing.
I think this was his try for Saturday Night Live. I was like,
Yeah.
that's what he was doing. Like,
Well, and I also feel like we were
you
like,
like on the juice?
this is one of those movies where you're like, so much has happened and it's felt so long, but also nothing has happened
Nothing.
because
There's
how are
nothing.
we're
They've not moved this plot along
like
for
along
5
at
minutes
all
of plot.
exactly.
Like,
Oh my god, it's so much. So anyway, but we get to Malacqua.
yeah.
Who
Malacqua.
was
Malacqua.
like has like a Dr. Jekyll,
Yeah.
Mr.
I
Hyde.
Yeah,
want-
so
I
basically, yes.
It's because he enters this doorway.
So I love. Oh
Yeah,
my
the
god.
doorway triggers it.
But
yeah.
that's what I love about this movie is like it takes you
Is
a
it
minute.
though?
You're like,
Is it?
you be quiet.
Is
You
it?
be quiet.
Is it?
So Dr. Malacqua has to go to his laboratory, right? And he's got Loopy and Igor, and they like or
Radu.
Sorry,
God
Radu.
damn it.
And they they're his minions,
I
and
mean,
it's
she's
funny
not
because he
wrong, though.
craps on
It's
both
fine.
of them,
Yeah.
and Radu craps on his wife, and they all just like love. They get off
By
on
the way,
the.
what is Malacqua's father remembered for?
Was he the
gave
original
he
Frankenstein?
brought herpes to Transylvania.
He brought herpes to Sicily.
Sicily,
Oh,
yeah, Sicily, yeah.
So anyway, but he needs to get to his laboratory. So he gets to the laboratory and he walks in and I love that he does this every time. He takes his
takes
hair
hair and
and he
moves it,
pushes
yeah.
it
I like-
forward.
That was
And he
a
goes
very
like
good
this, and then he's
physical
like,
gag.
What? And then he turns into this crazy,
sure.
Mr. Hyde
That
character.
was
Like,
a very good
He's
like
working,
yeah,
yeah.
like crazy mad scientist character, and he's like, oh my monsters, where are my monsters? Oh my things, oh, and then he's like, you piece of shit, like yelling at them, and then I love because he'll walk, and then he walks back out the door, and he's like,
How you guys doing? He's like,
Radu, you're working too hard, Loopy. Oh, take your coffee break. You should take
Why
your
did
coffee
he do
break.
that?
No, and they totally,
I'm gonna
they
see-
love it though. That's what I love is
This-
they're like, is he angry? Is he happy?
This
What's
scene
going
is-
on?
This scene is too fucking.
So-
But
long.
we also see a mummy.
No, so we see
What?
that there's some monsters, but they're missing. So Hunyadi is missing.
Hunyadi.
We
Kurt
know who
Hunyadi. By the way,
Hunyadi is.
Kurt
He's-
Hunyadi.
Kurt Hunyadi
He's the
is
first
who's the
name guy.
Frankenstein is missing. And then Larry. I'm trying to remember the
cable
son's name.
Larry.
Who was the son werewolf's name? Because he talks about he's
He was
missing
he's
too.
a junior. He's the same
Junior,
guy.
Junior,
Yeah,
yeah, Larry Jr. is
Yeah,
missing.
Larry Malba Jr.
Yeah, and then the Odette is missing, which you assume is Gina Davis's character, like
it's a
Odette.
vampire, Odette.
Well, like the story of Anyway, so and then and then
It's okay.
and then who's the contortionist is missing?
Twisto.
Twisto is missing.
His name is fucking Twisto.
Yeah, that's his name.
What?
Yeah.
Twisto.
So they're all missing, but his
Get this shit outta
favorite,
here.
his favorite one that is gonna be his masterpiece is still there, and it's he opens up a sarcophagi and there's a mummy inside.
Well, it moves a little bit, like, oh, it's
okay,
alive,
alright.
I guess, or something.
It's a mummy. Okay, so
I gotta talk a little bit about Peter Bunting, by the way, who played Hunyadi.
Okay.
Because
Sure.
we gotta
you
talk
know
about
what?
him.
You know what
sure.
else he was known for besides this movie?
Dying.
He did all the stunts for the 1990s Captain America show.
Yep. Okay, that tracks.
What?
Wow.
Can we do that as a
Fun
podcast where we
Fun
talk about the 1990 Captain America show?
Fun fact.
I mean,
Pop up
it was
video.
only like a couple episodes. We probably could do like a burn after watching.
Yes,
it.
Sure.
All of them,
Sure.
please.
Let's do
I
it.
mean, he was a dude on a motorcycle. It was horrible.
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it. And then we'll do Flash.
Peter, I don't know if
All
this one. Okay.
So, Peter.
Peter.
That a fun fact about Peter, which is Peter.
So then they're like talking about like, oh, you can just like bring him to life with lightning, and he's like, I don't work with lightning, I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I guess that's what
It
makes
is
it different.
So you figure out that he's only crazy when he's in the lab. For some reason, when he's in the lab, he crosses that threshold. He's a nut job, and there's a lot of masochism going on. And you know what? I get it. So,
right?
yeah. So,
I'm
but then,
there. It's a movie.
so guess what? So, Ed Begley was like, "Oh, we have to do more investigating," and Jack was like, "I'm going on a picnic." So, Jack goes on a picnic
Oh,
with.
he also tries to murder Gil.
He does.
For
During
no
this
reason.
picnic. During this picnic, he chokes him.
I was like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? And like multiple times, like, why is this a scene?
So, but you guys, the picnic is with the same mom who had
Yes.
like ghosted him, like we said.
And she
like,
just told the kid to go play in the fucking woods.
So I feel like there was probably another scene in
What?
between this that explains how
I feel like
they
she was
got
a
back
terrible
together.
mom. No, I don't.
And-
I do not think that scene was
No,
there.
you
Come
don't.
on.
Okay, I was giving
What are
it
you-
more,
what are you
more credit than
trying
it's
for
due.
here?
Yeah.
Like he wrote a fully functional thing.
You
that
know
cut it
what
out.
scene they
It
cut
must
out?
be the
There
producers.
was another scene of Michael Richards doing some fucking bullshit.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I will do the public.
Look, oh, my hands are fake.
He was like, he was like
Okay.
trying some Adam Sandler shit before it was good
It's
enough to be Adam Sandler
do you
shit.
think
Like, I
Adam
was like,
Sandler got some stuff?
I think so. I feel like it. Yeah.
What if,
Definitely.
Yeah.
what if Michael
So,
Richards sued Adam Sandler?
So, but anyway, Jack is taking this MILF on a
She's
on a
like,
picnic in the middle of
You're
a
not
field
wrong.
in the middle of the woods.
In a mysterious
She
forest.
just lets her daughter just run the
go
fuck
the
off.
fuck.
Just
And so like it shows her like in the woods.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, the woods is gotta be. They're like, must be right next to it. And they get up and go look for it, and it's a fucking like 100-yard
Yeah.
field. I'm like, your
No,
daughter
yeah.
was that far away?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
But not
He's
only that,
terrible at that.
he's hard hitting on this lady, and it's like her daughter's like 100
Like,
feet away.
are
Are
you
you
gonna
gonna have
fuck her
sex
right here?
like
Like,
in front of her
What are
daughter?
we doing?
Yeah, like what's the point
Like,
of
he's like,
this?
I
Like,
want to lick your neck. It's like,
what
dude,
the
your daughter's
hell?
right there.
Like-
what is your end game here, you disgusting
Tell-
person?
Tell her
Yeah.
to go pick flowers for an hour, baby. Like,
So-
it's like, okay.
Also, like, it's established that there are other good-looking women in Transylvania. Most of them are like really old ladies.
Oh, there's probably other good-looking dudes too, but she's with this guy.
No,
so
and-
And he's hitting on
a
her.
lot of this movie, of course, is like older men with much younger women because it's the 80s. So you know.
you know what? He's not that old.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about like the werewolf scene
Oh,
where the
Hunyadi.
guy's like older.
He's
Oh,
being
yeah.
defensive over
Hunyadi and his hot
yeah.
girlfriend.
Oh
Okay,
my god!
yeah.
All right. So anyway, so they're kind of like making out a
Oh,
little
Red
bit,
Dude.
and then
Red Dude's a
Gil
little-
comes running up because he's like, I've investigated. You know, I found out more about Dr. Valacqua, and we have to research him. And then Mom's like, oh wait a second, now we need to find my daughter because I've let
Yeah.
her run off into
Oops,
the middle
true.
of the woods.
So they all just split up.
They
Fucking
split
oops.
up and look for the daughter, and meanwhile we see the daughter meets up with, just like in the original
With
Frankenstein.
Nora.
The daughter's
They-
Nora, by the way.
And they definitely, like, they have lots of callbacks to the original horror films. So yeah, she meets up with Hunyadi. He puts his big hand on her mouth, and you're like, oh no, he's gonna
Yes,
hurt her,
kill her in
right?
some way.
Yeah. So they're searching for her. The mom's becoming more and more
Mm.
frantic.
And
And
Bigley's tree climbing skills.
Yeah, seriously.
are fucking
Again.
fantastic. Like,
Live. This man is like, I'm not.
I wonder if that was
mean,
one
Sexy
take.
because
I'm
like
just
one
saying.
take that.
Also, Ed Begley is a huge environmentalist, like big time. Like he and
He also played Mr. Futterman in Future Man, so there you go.
That's right.
yeah, there you
You're
go.
right. You're not wrong.
Oh, he's in lots of things.
Brilliant.
He was also in Maria. What's her face's? He played her
Bamford.
dad.
Maria
Thank you, Maria
Antoinette.
Bamford. He played her dad. He played her dad too. I said that correctly the first time.
You did, yeah.
So
She played her dad.
yeah, but he's amazing and I love him.
I mean,
He's fantastic.
how about that? So he climbs his tree.
Yeah.
He comes back down, and Frank or Hunyadi
And he
is
slides
right.
down.
over.
Like Hunyadi's like leading us to tree.
But he's just
Okay.
like chill. He's just like.
I thought he was
Yes.
dead. Honestly, I'm like, I don't know what the scene's trying to convey
And-
because
and
I
then he's
originally
like,
thought he was dead. He was like,
"Ah."
oh, he's a
Yeah.
dead guy, but it's more if he was scared of
He's
him.
doing like a comically scary.
Yeah.
But
horror
then it
thing.
gets worse because then
He backs up into the pond, and a hand reaches up out of
grabs
the pond
his dick.
and
Just
grabs him
his
by the
fucking
junk.
stick.
Yeah, seriously, like what?
And like then you find out that is just
That's
Twisto
Twisto.
just chilling in the
That's
fucking
Twisto.
water.
No, yeah,
Twisto
so
was waiting for this prank.
yeah, because we're definitely like, who is this? So he runs off, and then we get back to the laboratory, and they're getting all the monsters back. They're coming back.
they're still
So
coming
yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah.
We're not, like,
So,
we're not
yeah.
being led back. They're just coming
Yeah.
back.
Oh,
Like,
so-
oh,
yeah.
Lord.
We also had Chewbacca without any, without his fursuit on. He
Yeah,
just
yeah.
had
Being a
face and
wolf
hands.
man, a
So
real wolf.
Larry comes back, and his literal line is, because he loves saying angry things. And I did look this guy up. He was like, he's also in Death.
Becomes her.
No, the
Death Stranding. He's a
Death.
baby. He plays a baby.
Death Fight, Death Match
Death
from
by
the
Chocolate.
80s.
Death Race.
Death.
Death Race is for the 80s.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Very nice.
Death Warrant.
So he's been in a lot of other films.
Death
Basically, he's a big
Killing.
guy. And he comes back, and the med scientist, is like, you escaped. Why did you escape? You shouldn't. And he gets angry, and he goes, I'll tear every bit of hair you have out of your ass.
Yeah.
Like, Larry just loves saying the craziest shit.
Also, he is
It's like what?
like a
What?
daddy-o guy from New Jersey, but
Yeah.
he's a wolfman.
No,
That's
and
the-
his parents are in Transylvania.
they're Transylvania.
Like,
So
I don't
it's
get-
just like,
He's like,
what?
hey, daddy-o, I'm gonna tear the hair, all the hair out of your ass. Like, what? What? What are you doing? I don't know what you're going for here.
I'm gonna tear all the hair out of your ass, and it's like, what? Like, it's okay, dude.
Okay.
Whatever,
Yes.
whatever.
Hey, you pretzel
so there's,
Twisto.
yeah, so then there's Twisto, and he's like a
And
contortionist.
he's like doing this
He's
shit
like,
with
yeah.
his arms over here
And then
shit.
Odette comes back, and she's like, I'm really horny. And
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
get back in your
Yeah.
chains. You're a
Huh,
horny
you
lady.
think, you,
Horny
think,
lady.
Yeah.
you think she would have fucked all those guys at this point, how horny she is.
Like,
goddamn.
she is.
That's
in
why they have her in
everyone's
chains, so
business.
she can't.
Yeah, because she's got to be
Yeah, just
chained
hop
against
Yeah,
the
'cause
wall.
her and the werewolf would just be fucking all the time.
She's just all over the place. Oh, God.
So now we have the great. Because
Jack gets arrested.
at this point, Jack gets arrested.
Arrested for no fucking reason.
And it's because of what's going on, but it really doesn't make any sense. And you're just like, okay, all right. But somebody helps him out.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wrong. It's Bloodsport.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
fine.
Death.
That's fine.
Sorry.
That's what bloody death. Yeah.
Yeah, so someone helps him out. Yes, sorry.
So yeah, his new lady friend, without her kid again because the kid's
No.
gone.
is gone.
So I love, yeah, she's like, I'm helping you out because we need to find the police and they need to be searching for my daughter.
But how does she get him out though?
She
Yeah, so she's
hits
like-
the guy over the head with a
Yeah,
bottle.
So she beats up a police officer
Yeah,
so she can get out a guy that's a prisoner and will be a fugitive.
yeah.
So that they can find her. So the police can find
Yeah.
her daughter.
Yeah, she's gonna go yell at the police because they're not searching for her daughter in Transylvania where she lost her
What?
in the woods.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Like whoever's writing this part of
Right?
the plot didn't really make any sense.
Yeah,
to me.
they like have these two scenes, like the before and after scene. Like we gotta connect these, and like, she gets him out because they're gonna get the police.
Yeah.
It didn't
Wait,
make any sense.
What?
So, and you guys, the reason they're still searching is because Hunyadi is the only monster who didn't come back to the cave.
right.
And
the daughter's missing.
and Radu goes, where do you think Hunyadi is? And Radu goes, I have a hunch. And he goes, I know you have a hunch, but where is Hunyadi?
He's back. That's why it was funny.
Just line it up, guys. Line it up. He's like, Mel Brooks is gonna love these jokes.
So we also
hopefully
come
he'll
back
hire
to
me back,
yeah.
guys.
We also come back to Madame Moravia at one point, and she does the same
Moravia.
gag. Moravia.
She smashes her head through even more of a table.
Yeah, there's like 3 tables she
Yeah.
smashes her head through. Seriously.
All hilarious each time.
Oh, another line that Larry says they get Ed Begley Jr. They bring him back to the lab. He gets knocked out because he found Hunyadi, who was playing cards with the little girl because they're just like hanging out together. Also, the little girl in this movie acting her heart out. Like she was working hard for this film. She was
And beating Hidari at poker. Like
Yeah,
they're playing
seriously.
poker. Like
And
they were
she's
playing like a kid
and she's
game.
supposed to be like 4 to 7. Like
I
we
was
don't really
impressed.
know. Yeah.
She actually
So-
brought her A game in this movie.
so-
I'm gonna say.
Ed Begley Jr. gets knocked out when he finds them. They take him back to the lab. Jack gets back to the lab because he's like, oh, I gotta save this guy. And Larry, the Wolfman, grabs him and holds him through the bars and says to him, I got you now, you communist.
You call him a communist.
What?
I was
What
like,
the
oh,
hell?
okay.
Who
It
is
is
this
Neil
guy?
Gaiman.
Oh, by the way, one of your character thinks that you hate communists. Like, okay.
You're a wolf man who hates
I
communists.
got you,
I
communists.
was like,
What?
okay, that's what we're going for.
So
I literally looked at Jamie, and when that line came out, I was like, I quit.
yeah,
And I was like, we gotta pause this movie for a sec. I need to refill my drink if we're gonna keep going.
we definitely
Jamie-
had more than one
Jamie
drink.
watched this whole movie with me, and I was very.
And she loved it, right?
Yeah, no, she was very upset. Although the
Yeah.
English though too, and I was like, I'll make sure they know that you were upset with the English.
I was too.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was. I've seen this movie before.
Also,
I'm revisiting.
So
this
guys,
film.
how do they recapture Hunyadi?
Oh God,
You guys remember?
I'm trying to remember.
They chloroform him.
Oh God.
No, Freddy jumps on top of him and just like keeps chloroforming the fuck out of him. And he's like trying to like walk forward and then it's like
Yeah.
still trying to
This
chloroform
was
him.
so stupid and it was funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny because it was just so dumb.
I was like, also you too, how do you drag him afterwards? He's like 7 feet tall and you're
Yeah,
tiny.
he's huge. Yeah, seriously. They were really strong. They're like strong people with a hunch. So they get Hunyadi.
They don't really have a hunch though. They're
They
standing
bring
up
him
half
back, but
Gang's
then
all here.
yeah, they're all
Really?
together and they're trying to explain to them. These two guys are freaking out because they're like, "Oh my God! Like you're all monsters. What are we gonna do?" And then Hunyadi gets taken by the police officer, Captain.
Oh, wait,
Detective.
let's not skip this fight scene,
Okay.
guys, because it is fucking trash.
Yeah.
Like the filming of this was trash. The choreography of this was trash. The people were funny. Like you know, Joey Baloney's doing the funny
Yeah,
thing
no, I
with
love
the
his-
arch, and they're making it like. But
Yeah.
otherwise, trash.
Yeah.
I was like, I hated that scene, except for the Joey Baloney part. I was like, I hate the scene. I hate it. It's like,
His name's Joseph Bologna, by the way.
It
His
looked
name
dumb.
is Joey Bologna.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of like, because Ed Begley was on a stretcher, and so there was a lot of like moving the stretcher around. And then there's a scene where
and
he's,
the camera's just
oh,
moving
Dad
back
comes
and
over to
forth.
help him, and he
Yeah.
goes, he's like, undo the belt, and she's like, oh,
Not
you mean
that
your
belt.
belt? And he's like, no, not
He's
that
about
one.
to get that dick in
Yeah.
the middle of
Yeah.
this fight scene.
I mean, you know what, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel.
She's like, she's the latrine of the movie, right? Latrine, like going.
And you're
for
a
the...
big shit house.
Yeah, exactly. Only way